All right, today is on absolute value functions, but this time we're going to be writing the equations instead of graphing. So if you can graph the equations, you can definitely write the equations. So writing always focuses on, or really focuses on, just being able to identify those key pieces. So if you remember from when you graphed, you have the general equation here, and the A value was the slope of the branch. And you also remember, a positive A, it opens up, and a negative A, it opens down. So something to remember. And then you have the HK, which is the vertical shift, which is also the vertex of our function. So identifying those key pieces. So looking at this first graph here, we have vertex is at 4, 3. To find our A value, first we notice that the function opens down here. So we know that our A value will be negative. And then we need to find the slope. So how you find slope of a line, because the branches are two lines that form that V shape. If you remember, that's rise over run. That's the vertical distance up and down over horizontal distance left and right. So find 2 points, which we've identified, 4, 3, and 2.5, 0. And find the change in the Y value over the change in the X value. So from the Y values, we are going from 0 to 3. So this is a rise of 3 because my Y values go from 0 to 3. So that's the Y values, rise of 3. And then my run value, I'm going from 4 to 2.5. So 4 minus 2.5 is a difference of 1.5. So then your slope of the line is going to be rise of 3 divided by run of 1.5. And 3 divided by 1.5 is 2. So rise over run of 2, which you can kind of see right here, maybe a little bit easier, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. I like to use the points that are given just to make sure that I am getting an accurate A value. So since it opens down, your A value is going to be negative 2 though. Then remember, your domain for absolute value is all your possible input values. What can you plug into the function? Since you can take the absolute value of all real numbers, X is an element of the real numbers is your domain. Range depends on the output values, which is easy to see on the graph that all of our output values are less than or equal to 3. So it corresponds to the Y value in the vertex. It's less than or equal to because it opens down. So then our equation, plugging that in, will be Y equals A, so negative 2, absolute value or straight line, so don't make parentheses here, X minus H, so X minus 4, absolute value, plus K, plus 3. And that's our equation. So pretty straightforward there. Let's try another one. All right, this one we got the vertex is negative 1, 3. Our A value is going to be negative again because we have a opening down. We need to find the slope. So here we use those 2 points. So you can use any 2 points. You make a right triangle from one to the other. Then find the height. So this is up 3. And then the length or the base of the right triangle, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do it that way. And then it's rise over run. So it's going to be a negative slope of 3/4. You find the difference in the Y coordinates over the difference in the X coordinates. That comes back from that equation. You might remember Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1 for slope. It's also rise over run. Domain will be, X will be the element of all real numbers again. Can be any real number you want. And then the range, since it opens down and we have the highest value, our maximum value is at 3. We consider our maximum value to be our Y value, and so that's 3, and then all our other Y's are below that. So our final answer for the equation would be Y equals negative 3/4, absolute value, X minus H, so X minus negative 1, is actually going to be X plus 1, and then plus K. So just like when you graphed it, and you took the vertex out, the H value came out as opposite. So when you put it back in, it goes in as opposite as well. This one has a vertex of 0, 2. This time our A value will be positive because it opens up. They don't give me another point here, so I'll choose this one, and it's a slope rise over run, so you make sure you make that right triangle. Find the distance up is 1 and the distance over is 2. So that means our A value will be a positive 1/2. Domain is all real numbers. Range will be all your Y values, this time that are greater than or equal to 2. Use your Y value. This time this is a minimum value since they're all above it, so we use greater than or equal to. Your equation would be Y equals 1/2 absolute value. You could put in X minus 0, absolute value plus 2, which can be simplified then to just 1/2 of the absolute value of X plus 2. All right, a little word problem here. Musical group's new single is released. Weekly sales is our S. Increase steadily for a while and then decrease as given by the function where T is time in weeks. So really this should be S equals and then our time in weeks. And so that's our function. So the weekly sales in thousands increase steadily, but then start to decrease after time T in weeks. So let's graph this. Let's think about a few things first. We need a vertex of positive 20 and positive 40. And then our A value is going to be negative 2. So to have a vertex of 20, 40, I'm probably going to count by 5s. So I'm going to put time is our X, so time T goes on the X-axis. Sales in thousands is our Y, so that's going to go on the Y-axis. And then remember that each tick mark is going to be 5. So I'm going to label this one as 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, 55, 60. Etc. You might need to pause this so you can label your graph quick, and that's just fine. So I'm going to count by 5s here, but I'm only going to write the 10 spot. 40. All right, and then I'm going to graph it. So the over 20 up 40 is going to be right there. And that's our vertex. And then we have a slope of negative 2. So if I'm counting by 5s, I'm going to think of how could I convert, what could I count down by 5s to get to negative 2. So if you think of negative 10 over 5 would equal negative 2 over 1. So I would go down 2 over 1 essentially, down. I'm counting by 5s, so down 2 would be down 10, and then over 1 would be over 5, which would still be negative 2. So you can still do that in the same sense. So from this point, down 10 over 5, down 10 over 5, down 10 over 5, you'll see that it's the same as down 2 over 1, except for I screwed up that last point. Down 2 over 1. Down 10 the other side, this is where the sales are increasing. So you'll see that, and this one stops because we're talking about sales. So this point right here means that at 0 sales they've made, or at 0 weeks they've made $0. At 20 weeks they've made $40,000. And then that means that at 40 weeks, now they're back down to making $0. So after 40 weeks, no one is buying these CDs anymore. They're not necessarily going to make a negative amount of money, but they're not making any more money. And you could say at 30 weeks, they make $20,000, etc. So you could answer questions like that based off of this graph. So here the domain is going to only be x's that are greater than or equal to 0. So not all real numbers in this case, because your x's, I should say, it's actually t's. greater than or equal to 0, because that's your input and we're dealing with time. So the time is it has to be greater than 0. You don't have a negative number of weeks here that you're selling. Now your range is going to be all your Y values that are less than or equal to that 40,000, but greater than or equal to 0. So you can either write it as a compound inequality or say Y is greater than or equal to 0 and Y is less than or equal to 40. It can be written either way. But again, you're not going to have a negative number of sales. We're going to assume, I guess, if they're still making albums but not selling any, technically their profits could go negative, but we're talking sales here. So what is the max number of singles sold in 1 week? The max number of singles. I guess all I know here is the max number of sales. So the max number of sales, oh wait, no, I can't answer this. This number of singles, it's increasing by 10 over, it was 10,000 in sales over 5 weeks. So you get 2,000 in sales per week. No, yeah, I think it should be sales. So I guess if I wanted to know how many singles were sold, I would need to know how much each single is. So it's $2,000 in sales per week. All right. Try the last 3 on your own here, a couple for you to try, and come to class with questions, please. Thank you.